Hello everyone, welcome to Raaonline. Today we will discuss our new chapter from biology in human welfare, that is human health and disease, right? Human health and disease, what does it mean? That is what is called health actually. Health, that means the person who is the physical, social and mental well-being, right? When we define the health, so what is health actually? Physical, mental and social well-being, right? Physical, mental and social well-being is called the health or the healthy. Clear? Now there are some terminologies in which minute differences are there and the whole meaning is changed by these differences, right? Come to the health. After that, diseases. What are the diseases? In easy language we can say any alteration in health, right? Any alteration in health, clear? Or we can say the group of the symptoms, right? The group of the symptoms is also known as the disease, or any alteration in health is called disease, right? So this is the definition of disease. And when we what is the difference between the sign and symptoms? Right? Sign, that is which directly indicate towards the disease, right? Which directly indicate towards the disease, right? It is called sign. And what are the symptoms? These are the characteristic features of the disease, right? These are the characteristic features of the disease, right? In NCERT, actually in that chapter, human health and disease, 3 chapters are merged. First one is about the diseases, right, which affects the humans, which is related with the bacterial diseases, the viral diseases, fungal diseases, protozoan, helminthic diseases, right? Second is the related with the immunology, in which we study about the immunity, right? What kind of immunity is present, that is innate immunity and the acquired immunity, right? Innate immunity, acquired immunity. In acquired immunity, then humoral immunity, which is called the antibody mediated immunity, and the cell mediated immunity, right, which is provided by the T cells. Clear? We studied about the lymphoid organs, the structure of the antibody, how many antibodies are present, produced in our body, how many types of antibodies are there, right? What are the functions of them? All we study under that immunology chapter, under this human health and disease, right? And the third chapter is merged in it, that is drug abuse, alcohol. What kind of drugs are there, what are their properties, right? And how if we are abused for some drugs and for some beverages like the alcohol like beverages, right, then what is the side effects of that, right? How we can treat the patient which is habitual to these things, right? Or the how we educate them, right? So all these things comes under that chapter. Clear? So simply when we talk about the in case of the diseases, diseases are of two types, right? Diseases are of two types. First one is the communicable disease. Communicable diseases, which is also known as the infectious disease, right? That communicable diseases is also known as the infectious disease. And what is that infectious disease? That means the when a disease transmit from one person to another easily by the medium, by some medium like the air, like the contaminated food and waterborne bacterial and diseases, right? Some viral diseases, soil-borne bacterial diseases, all these, when these infections spread from one person to the another, that then these diseases are called the communicable disease or the infectious disease, right? To communicate the diseases or to spread the infection, we need a medium, right? So they are the pathogens which causes the diseases are the bacteria, viruses, protozoans, fungal, right? All these things. Helminthic diseases. Clear? And when we talk about the non-communicable disease, which is also known as the non-infectious disease, non-communicable disease, which is also known as the non-infectious disease. So non-communicable, non-infectious, that means when infection is not spread from not spread from or not transmitted from one person to the another, right? Like the diabetes mellitus, the gout, the arthritis, right? All these kinds of the diseases are called the non-communicable diseases, right? So these are the type of the diseases, right? And now we will study about that chapter, the whole summary of that chapter in the form of the questions, right? So now come to the first question. See, I am the toxic chemical released by the reprehend RBCs, right? My concentration increases in malaria. I irritate, that I is the causative organism actually, right? That I is the causative organism actually. So I irritate the patient by alternate chills, and fever. Can you identify me, right? Can you identify me who I am? I am a toxic material, right, which is released by the infected RBC is more infected, right? More understanding word is the infected RBCs. My concentration increases in malaria, right? So acid hematin is not increases in malaria, hematoxin no, basic hematin no, but that name, that is the hemozoin, right? That is the hemozoin which irritate the patient by alternate chills and the fever, right? So actually this is related with the malarial cycle. As we know that these hemozoin are the dark pigmented granular structure, right? Granules like structure. What will happen in case of malaria? The causative organism The causative organism is the Plasmodium. Right? It is a protozoan disease actually. Vector, female Anopheles. Right? Vector, female Anopheles. What will happen in that case? Plasmodium is the digenetic parasite, right? Plasmodium is the digenetic parasite. Why it is called digenetic? Because it completes its life cycle in two hosts, right? Because it completes its life cycle in two hosts, that's why it is called the digenetic parasite, and its life cycle is digenetic life cycle. Two types of reproduction seen in the Plasmodium, that is asexual reproduction and the sexual reproduction, right? In case of asexual reproduction occurs in the human, right? And sexual reproduction occurs in the female Anopheles. So we can say the Anopheles is the primary host, human is the secondary host, right? Female Anopheles primary host, human is the secondary host. Clear? So digenetic parasite, asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction occurs in the female Anopheles, asexual reproduction occurs in the humans, right? Right, so when we talk about the malarial cycle, Plasmodium, what will happen here? See here that female Anopheles, when female Anopheles bite a human, what will happen? In salivary gland of female Anopheles, the sporozoites are present, right, which is responsible to cause the disease in the humans, right? These sporozoites enters in the human body, and firstly they affects the liver cell. What will happen now? That liver cell is infected, right? That liver cell is infected here. Now when it is infected, what will happen? That sporozoites enters in it, right, and it forms a schizont. When that schizont gets matured, then what will happen? It gets ruptured, right, and release the merozoites, right, and the hemozoin, right, release the merozoites. And actually what because it occurs outside the RBC, right? In that stage RBC is not infected, that's why it is called the exoerythrocytic cycle. The whole malarial cycle is divided into three parts. First one is the exoerythrocytic cycle. Second is the erythrocytic cycle. Third is sporogonic cycle. In exoerythrocytic cycle, liver cell is infected, In erythrocytic cycle, RBC is infected. Sporozoids, these spores, that sporogonic cycle occurs in the female anopheles, right? It occurs in the female anopheles. Clear? So now what will happen here? See, when these merozoites release and infected that RBC, right? That is the RBC, these merozoid infected that, then what will happen now? These RBCs infected, and there are two stages now, right? Immature trophozoite, which is called the ring stage occur, right? Some trophozoites gets mature and transform into the schizons, right, like that. And some trophozoite ring stage cell, what will happen? They ring stage and they form the gametocytes, right? These form the gametocyte. Then gametocyte is that gametocytes is again sucked by that female anopheles, right? And what will happen in that stage? When some mature trophozoites enters, right, schizont is mature, schizont mature, then when schizont is mature, then it gets ruptured, then hemozoin granules are released, right? Then these are called the hemozoin granules, right? Merozoites and the hemozoin granules are released with that rupturing of the RBC, and when RBC gets ruptured, then the patient feels the chills, and after that fever comes after that. Clear? So in that manner, what will happen? Again, these hemozoins and merozoites infect the RBCs, and again this cycle is continue in that form. And these sporogonic sporozoites of liver, these sporozoites of female anopheles infects the liver cells. So in that case, that's why in malaria case liver cells get disintegrate, right? Liver cells degenerate. So when the liver cells degenerate in maximum amount, then what will happen? The liver functions is affected, right? And due to that, liver is not able to metabolize the bilirubin and biliverdin properly, and in that case, that's why the jaundice is the complication of the malaria. After the after the recovery of malaria, sometimes patient may suffer from the jaundice just due to the excessive destruction of the hepatocytes, right? So now that is in that case, RBC is infected, that's why it is called the erythrocytic cycle. Now what will happen? That is called the asexual reproduction, which is occur in the human, and human is the secondary host for the plasmodium. Clear? Now what will happen? When that mosquito takes a blood meal and ingests the gametocytes with the blood, right, then what will happen? These gametocytes get matured, sexual reproduction occur, these gametocytes get matured and form the macrogametocytes and the microgametocytes, right? And these microgametocytes enters in the macrogametocytes, right? These microgametocytes enters in the macrogametocytes and form the ookinete. This ookinete invaded in the gut wall of the mosquito, right, where it gets mature and get the nourishment, right? And when it gets mature, it converted into the oocyst, right? After rupturing of that oocyst, these sporozoites release and get stored in the female anopheles salivary gland, right? So in that manner, that the plasmodium complete its life cycle in two hosts. Clear? So that's why this question is related with that, right? So that you can identify that I now, right? Come to the next question. Sporozoites of plasmodium are stored in dash of the mosquito. Antenna? No. Stings? No. Right? Salivary gland? Exactly. Not in even stomach, right? So the answer is C. Now come to the next question, that is Ant amoeba histolytica, right? Ant amoeba histolytica is responsible for. Now the first question is, what is actually that ant amoeba histolytica? That ant amoeba histolytica, as its name suggests, and it is in italic, right? So what will happen? Actually it is a protozoan parasite, right? Ant amoeba histolytica is the protozoan right, it is protozoan parasite. That protozoan parasite lives in the large intestine of the human, right? And due to the infection of that ant amoeba histolytica, it causes the amoebiosis, right? It causes the amoebiasis, which is also known as the amoebic dysentery, right? In that particular disease, what will happen actually? What are the symptoms of the this ant amoeba histolytica? That ant amoeba histolytica erode the mucus wall of the intestine, right? That's why the excessive mucus excreted out with the stool, right? So when we talk about the symptoms, constipation because they block the path, right? Second is abdominal pain because of the worm manifestation, with cramps, right? Stool with excess mucus and the blood clots, right? Sometimes when the infection is increased more and more, then what will happen with this, with some mucus, blood clots are also secreted with that stool, excreta, clear? So that's why in that case patient will be discomfort. And when we talk about the vector is the muscula nebula, that is the housefly, right? Vector is housefly, clear? That housefly is the mechanical carrier and serve to transmit the parasite from the feces of the infected person to the food, right? And in that manner it transmitted to the another person. So now, through that summary of the ant amoeba histolytica, the answer is it causes the responsible for the amoebiasis and amoebic dysentery both. So the answer is C. Clear? Come to the next, that is lymphatic vessels of lower limbs are inhabited by, right? Actually these lymphatic vessels of lower limbs is infected by the filarial worm, which is known as the Wuchereria bancrofti, right? Which is known as the Wuchereria bancrofti. also known as the filarial worm. Actually, it causes the filariasis, which is also known as the elephantiasis, right, which is also known as the elephantiasis. Clear? Which is also known as the elephantiasis. So actually the patient limb, specifically the lower limbs, is affected, and it converted due to the blockage of the lymphatic vessels, right? It gets converted, it gets thick and thick and thick, it gets converted into just like the elephant like leg, right? Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malayi, these are the two species which is responsible for the filariasis, which is also known as the elephantiasis. Actually, they can live for many years in the lymphatic vessels, and they causes the chronic inflammation, right? You can see here, see that this is the normal leg, and this is just like the elephantiasis, like the elephant, right? This is the severe case, but in more severe case, the whole leg is just like the elephant, right? And the vector is the culex, right? Vector is the culex mosquito. Culex mosquito is responsible for the elephantiasis, right? So that Wuchereria bancrofti and Wuchereria malayi, they infects the lymphatic vessels, even they also affects the genital organs, right? They also affects the genital organs. We know that what is that Ascaris? Ascaris is the nematohelminthes, right? It is the member of the nematohelminthes worm manifestation, responsible for the worm manifestation. Female is longer than the male, right? Planaria, that is Dugetia, right? Platyhelminthes member. Antamoeba, we know that Antamoeba histolytica, that is the protozoan, right? So that Wuchereria bancrofti is related with the infection of the lymphatic vessels, right? Come to the next question. The most common infectious disease in humans, right? Most common, that is the most common in that type, as we know that ringworm infection is the fungal infection, right? It is the fungal infection. Belonging to genera Microsporum, Trichophyton, and the epidermophyton, right? Ringworm is a fungal infection which belongs to the genera Microsporum, the Trichophyton, and the epidermophyton, right? Now what will happen in that case? It is the most common disease in the humans, right? It is the most common infectious disease in the human, where the patient feel appearance of the scaly skin, dry scaly lesions on the nails, scalp, right? All over the skin, anywhere, right? Where the moisture is much more, so fungal easily grow there, right? Easily. So now when we talk about that AIDS is the viral disease, right? AIDS is the viral infection caused by the HIV, that is human deficiency virus, right? It is caused by the HIV. Actually, it's not very common infectious disease. Why? That HIV infects, actually it destroy the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It destroy our immune system, it collapse the immune system, whole immune system, right? And its incubation period, it's so many long, after even after it 10 years for some symptom appear sometimes, right? So 10 to 20 years its incubation period is approximately that. So it's not so easy, right? But the most easiest form of the infection in them, that is ringworm, right? Pneumonia is a bacterial disease which is caused by the streptococcus pneumoniae, right? Which is caused by the streptococcus pneumoniae. Clear? Malaria, protozoan disease, which is caused by the plasmodium. Right? So that's why the most common infectious disease in human is the ringworm, which is the fungal infection. You see that kind of ring is formed over the infected area. See here, and it's very, the patient feels very itchy sensation, right? And it's very irritating actually. Its sensation is very irritating. Clear? So dry scaly skin appearance is there, skin lesions is there, right? So that's why that is the ringworm infection, right? There are many types of ringworm infections are there, right, which is called the tinea when we talk about the tinea infections, that is ringworm of head, ringworm of nail, ringworm of genital organs, ringworm of head is caused by the tinea capitis, ringworm of nail is caused by the tinea unguium, right? It is caused by the tinea cruris, clear? So in that manner the tinea infection occurs, right? Even you heard that athlete's foot, which is the most common question, right? That is the athlete's foot, because we know that athletes they wear the shoes whole time, right, for the practice, to exercise, all these things. So what will happen, the moisture is maintained here regularly due to the excessive sweating and all these things, right? So sometimes athlete's foot, in athletes the fungal infection is easily occurs in the foot, clear? And it is caused by the, it's tinea, right? And athlete's foot is caused by the tinea pedis. Clear? So all these are responsible for this kind of tinea infection or ringworm infection, right? Tinea crurus, which is also known as the jock itch. Clear? So these are the type of the Taenia's infection. Clear? And this the fungal diseases. Now come to the next. Ringworm is caused by, we already discussed it, the ringworm is caused by the three genera of the three genera. First one is the microsporum, second one is the trichophyton, and third one is the epidermophyton, right? So the answer is D, all. Come to the next question. When we talk about the non-specific type of the defense which is provided by, right? Non-specific type of defense, that means there are two types of defense mechanism in our body, that is specific and non-specific. Non-specific, that is, it is not specified for some kind of the bacteria or some kind of the virus, right? It acts all over upon all kinds of the microorganisms, right? It fight against all kinds of the microorganisms. That's why this non-specific type of immunity is provided by, we can say it is called the innate immunity or the inborn immunity, right? It is called the innate immunity or the inborn immunity. So the answer is A. Acquired immunity is according to the requirement. Suppose if some infection, some causative organism is new for us, right? And our body comes in contact with that microorganism first time, right? Then what will happen? We don't know about the power of that particular organism now, right? And we don't have the antibodies against them in our body. So what will happen? Our body, our immune system, in our immune system, the lymphocytes, specifically the B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte, the T helper recognize the antigen of that causative organism, right? And inform the B lymphocyte to make the antibodies with the help of the that chemical, right? And after that, B lymphocyte produce the antibodies by the use of the antigen of that particular causative organism, right? So that kind of immunity is called the acquired immunity, which is produced in our body according to the requirement and according to the entering of the particular microorganism. But that innate immunity, which is also known as the inborn immunity, right? Innate immunity, that is inborn immunity, which is received by the child through the mother, right? Clear? In the form of the colostrum and all these, clear? So this is called the innate immunity. That's why it is the non-specific type of defense.